Hey everybody, welcome. Self-care challenge day 17, talking about love, talking about the solar plexus, and also going to talk about self-image. There's a lot really. And in the Soul Legacy Academy and Spiritual Biz YouTubers Network with Iona Mead, we talk about emotions and they go hand in hand because one directly affects the other. Our emotions, our thoughts, our thought patterns, our self-image, how we see ourselves, right? So one thing that came up today is what we do and who we are, and how we oftentimes internalize what we do, so our habitual patterns, with who we are. Like we try to own it and we say that's who we are. It's just me, it's just who I am, right? When it's really not, it's just something that we do. It's something that's become habitual for us. And I have used before in an example is when I used to smoke cigarettes, right? I like internalize that and own that as being, right? I'm being a smoker, which it's not who I am because it's not, I don't do that anymore, right? It's an action that I took. It was a habit. It was definitely a large part of my life, the time I spent, all those things, but it wasn't who I am as a person. And even some of those things that become what we do or what we internalize or what we think becomes part of who we are as a person. Some of those things we can change if we want to, right? If we choose to, if it's no longer in alignment with us. And that happens and it's okay. And it's just a part of growth. It's just a part of growth. It's just a part of the human experience. But I love that it came up in the awareness and that we talk about this because self-image, if you really think about what that means, it is just our image of who we are, right? It's just an image. So I just had this like visual of a blank canvas and how we can create for ourselves, right? So again, I often say no blame, shame, and guilt. How we can allow ourselves to have love, to give love to ourselves, and to receive love from others and from God, Source Creator. When we beat ourselves up, or when we internalize, say, a habit that doesn't really align with our highest, and then we feel bad and icky about it, just like, again, and I'm not picking on anyone who smokes cigarettes, by the way. This is just something in my own journey, right? And my own awareness. And I smoked cigarettes for a really, really long time. Like I started at the age of 12 and I stopped for a year, give or take a year in 2005, and started again either in or by 2007. So maybe a little over. And then I continued to smoke again until just 2 years ago. So 2021. That's a long time. Like the majority of my life, really, when you compare those years, the majority of my life I smoked cigarettes. So I identified as a smoker, right? Like I pulled that in. That's how I saw myself. It was part of my self-image. So it affected the energy in my solar plexus chakra, right? And it was challenging at times to allow myself to give myself love when I viewed that part of me, when I viewed myself as being a smoker, because, it's a bad habit and it smells bad and it's unhealthy. And, that's not how you show yourself love is by, like, again, I'm not trying to share this with you to make anybody who smokes cigarettes feel bad. This was just my own thought processes, my own image, my own thoughts, my own emotions. Excuse me. And then now I don't usually think about it anymore, to be fair. Like I quit smoking cigarettes. Like it's not even a big thing anymore. I don't really even place it in my idea of self-image anymore, like other than when a conversation like this comes about and then I use it as an example. But on my day to day, I don't wake up in the day or in the morning and go, oh, I'm a non-smoker today. It's just not part of my self-image, right? It's not, doesn't take the forefront in how I view myself or or don't see myself or however that may be. And again, that's just one example. So even with thought patterns, personalizing, right? I don't always have to be defensive. There was a time in my life when I was very defensive. That's an action. That's a trigger response, right? Is being defensive. I don't always have to be defensive. I used to internalize that. I am, right? Starting off that sentence, I am a defensive person. I am someone who personalizes often. I am. We don't have to own it, right? We don't have to own it. It doesn't have to be who we are. We can separate, detach from that, and see it and observe it as an action that we've taken. And that's really empowering because then it gives us an opportunity to decide if it's something we want to continue or not, right? Do I want to continue to personalize? Do I want to continue to be defensive? Do I want to continue to smoke cigarettes? Do I want to continue to eat junk food, right? I have to make those choices for myself in each moment without blame, shame, and guilt, still allowing myself to have love and receive love in that process, right? Hey, Rebecca, how's it going, girl? Rebecca says, hey, babe, how are you? I don't know how long you've been there. I was just on a rant and ramble about today's topic for self-care is about having love for self and then self-image, right? How we see ourselves, how we identify ourselves or those pieces or aspects of ourselves, and how much of that, and oftentimes, is we don't have to internalize and own it, right? Um, so actually, what just another example that just came to mind is being an empathic healer, right? Quote unquote, you're just too sensitive. I heard that a lot growing up and as an adult, right? You're just too sensitive. And then kind of internalizing it and owning it and seeing that as part of myself, as my self image. I am too sensitive. Oh, I can have all kinds of examples of how I'm too sensitive, right? Excuse me, before I realized that it's part of being an empath. It's not such a terrible thing as I felt growing up and hearing it all through those years, right? It's actually a gift that we can use, but our perspective about it, and it's just how we see it, how we label it. Do we internalize it? Do we become it? And then do we see it as a gift or as a curse, if you will, right? If you want to use those types of words. Rebecca says, I've been here listening since the smoker conversation. Oh, right on. We really need to be careful when we say I am. Exactly. Exactly. So thanks for bringing that back to it. I think that's great for our self-awareness, right? So we want to be aware, assess, and align in each of our areas. So for today, in looking at our self-image, our solar plexus chakra, if we have love for self and if we allow love for self, checking in with that, just maybe when we're not over focused on it, right? Because then we can kind of sway what would come through. So, like right this minute would not be a good time for me to do this activity, but it's part of homework, if you will, to have that awareness is just start to write out. Kind of free flow sometime. Grab a piece of paper out of the blue and go, oh, yeah, the I am exercise, and just start writing I am and see what comes up for you. See how you see yourself, what comes in. And then other people might see us differently too, right? So there's something called a C.A.R.E window, and there's 4 different quadrants, if you will. And it's how I see myself, how others see me. There's two more, and I'm probably not going to remember what they are. Things I hide or I don't see about myself, and then things others don't see or know about me, right? Google it to make sure I didn't just jack that up, but it's on that order because we don't always see all the aspects of self, which is why sometimes things are mirrored to us and for us, right? And it can be harsh and sometimes we miss it, but we are given those opportunities of seeing something in someone else that we're missing within ourselves. So it might be a part of that viewpoint. It might be a habitual, a habit, an action, a pattern, a thought pattern, something like personalizing or justifying, or these are things that are common for me because they're things I've done a lot throughout, my years that that's come into my awareness. Sometimes seeing those things happen with other people or noticing them in other people, we are then able to say, oh, I've done that, or oh, I do that, right? It's an opportunity to have that self-awareness. There she is. Hey, love. Hi, Iona. I didn't know if you'd be able to hop on here or not. I had to come on early because I have things to do this afternoon. I have some errands to run. But talking about the self-image. So Yeah, how we see ourselves, how other people see us. Another one is, sometimes we hear oftentimes other people say, "Oh, you're so strong and you're so strong," and we don't feel real strong, right? We don't feel real strong. Did I come back? Rebecca says I froze. Am I back on? Are we good? Dang nabbit. Hopefully we're good. It's showing me movement still, so hopefully we're good. I won't stay on too long. And I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. Um, hmm, I don't know. I lost myself. Oh, good. Back on? Awesome. I forgot my thought process. Sorry. Iona says the internet doesn't usually work until I get to this area and I charge my phone after my coffee date. Oh, right on. I hope it was you were not frozen. Perfect. Great. Yeah, you are back. Great. Thank you for letting me know, guys. My brain froze though. My thought process totally escaped me, but that's okay. It's all still fitting, and I think I was making my point anyway about having love for self, our self-image, having that difference between things we do versus who we are, right? And part of that self-image is created because of the things that we do and the habits that we create. So those patterns that we repeat, right? When it's something that we do over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, we do see it as part of our self-image because it seems like it's become a part of who we are. But just that reminder, if it's something that you'd like to change, it doesn't mean you can't, right? It doesn't mean I can't. It's just right? It's been a while, but I've shared in the past, even things like, say, diabetes. My mom has diabetes, right? But what's the common lingo people say? I am diabetic. No, you have diabetes. You're not the diabetic, right? You're not the disease. You have the disease. Or you're not the illness. You have the illness. Um, People will use a term like I'm bipolar. No, you have bipolar, right? We don't have to be it. We have it, which means we can do something with it. When we internalize things like that, then it makes it seem like and feel like, because again, for myself, and feel like you don't have any control whatsoever. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not trying to say that either. Some of these things are very deep and very, like, they matter. I'm not dismissing them completely. But when we don't have to feel hopeless or helpless, right? It's empowering, in my opinion, to know and believe and to see when I can do something different, right? I may need some support. I may not know how right away, but it's a possibility. Like I just like knowing there's a possibility. Because again, there's a difference. We're not doing the blame, shame, and guilt. We're allowing love for self. We're giving love and support to self. So in that process of the awareness to say, oh, this isn't me, it's just something I do. It's become a pattern and a habit. So I could do something different. I can detach from it a little bit and then say, now, how do I do that? Right? What steps would help me? And even if I fumble and stall and stumble and fall words, I can keep trying and looking. Like this, the cigarette smoking was huge for me, you guys, not gonna lie. I enjoyed, okay? I liked it. Which is why I did it for so long. I liked it. But I didn't want to do it anymore because I didn't really feel that great. I was starting to notice a difference. I'm getting older, and then all the icky stuff that comes along with smoking, and I was starting to feel it in my chest a little bit, and it, affects the allergies, and my allergies were getting better, and then I noticed them were starting to, get a little worse, blah, blah, blah. And it's an addiction, and I don't want to be trapped and tied to something, right? I don't. It's like that little rebellious part that's, of my ego, maybe even. Or it's my spirit and soul saying, dude, this is not good for you, the body. Give it up, right? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Point is, it was something I wanted to change. So I didn't have to be the smoker anymore. I didn't have to own it. I had to find ways that would work for me to make the change. And it took a lot of things to help me get through that change, right? A lot. And the process of quitting this most recent time compared to the very first time I actually quit for that year and something, very different. The very first time I quit, I really do feel pretty awful about how I treated people around me because I was nasty. Like I was not dealing with the withdrawal. very well at all. I didn't have the tools I needed to get through that process. Like, I still did it. I still quit for a year or so, but it was bad. My poor kids, like literally, I still have some healing to do around that, and they made too, to be honest. It was bad. This time around was not like that at all. Like, people were nervous, not gonna lie. People who were in my physical space when I was quitting smoking, like, did not want to be around me at all. And since they're adults, they were able to not be around me, but it wasn't that bad anyway. Okay, let me come back to comments. Sorry, guys, on my rant and ramble. All right, where did I leave off? Here we go. Iona says, you looked frozen when you were thinking. That's funny. Perfect timing then, because, I was. Iona says, that's massive. I think so too. It is, really. Amen. Thank you. Exactly. Right? We don't have to be the things that we do. We don't have to own our dis-ease. My mom does she? Truth. Rebecca says, oh, wow, that hit me. Hopefully in a good way. I don't know. When we say hit me, it's not always in a great way. Iona says there is choice. Iona says it's a fine line, isn't it? It really is. It really is. Healing is possible. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally believe in the opportunities and possibilities of healing. Iona says you are welcome for the content. Love this. Right? Exactly. Thank you. I didn't give all the details, but I did share that what was coming up today that I could bring in for the content. I liked it. Good, good. Your coffee date? Iona says, glad you don't do it. And my friend having COPD is real. Truth. My mom has COPD too. She's also on oxygen for I don't know, couple of reasons maybe. Iona says, it's been brilliant watching you quit. Thank you. Definitely a different experience this time around than years ago. Iona says, don't say sorry. It was important to love you and change your self-image. Very much so. My mom and diabetes got you. I got you. And it's interesting. Sorry, Rebecca, I'm going to come back up here for just a minute about the diabetes. So my mom has been diagnosed with diabetes for a long time, right? And she moved from, this is like throughout years, not to share all her business, but I think it's not uncommon. And there's a really big point in here I want to share. She went from managing with her diet, right, to being on medication, not insulin, but medication, pills, to getting off the pills, right, and back to managing with diet. So there still is healing and opportunity. And I'm not saying she's no longer diabetic. Time will tell how things work out in her body and however. But point being is, like, once we reach a stage of needing medication for something, doesn't mean that that has to be constant the rest of our life, right? It may be expected or anticipated, or quote unquote studies show whatever. It might be possible that that's the case, but it's not always a given. It's not always 100%. There are opportunities where that can change, right? Excuse me. So that part I wanted to bring up is, even when we think it's only going to get worse, or, after pills you go to insulin, that may be true in some cases, but not always. Like, let's have some kind of faith in our bodies and the body's ability to heal, and the choices that we make with our diet and exercise or whatever we're doing. And being open to the possibility is the big thing, that some healing can occur, right? Maybe it's getting away from the medication and going back to a diet to manage. Who knows? Who knows? Rebecca says, yes, in a good way. Perfect. I'm not the disease. I have the disease. Exactly, right? And I mean, we're humans, so most of us, we can pretty much say we all have something. We all have something. Excuse me. I've shared that I've had, the addiction with my cigarettes, emotional eating, so almost like a food addiction, if you will, of junk food, right? Not even sweets, it's like salty things too, just junk. Um, I've been diagnosed with, depression and anxiety and PTSD. It doesn't have to control me or be me, right? Do I have to manage it? Yes. Do I have to have skills to manage it? Yes, absolutely. Do I make efforts? Yes. Do I have to be intentional, like Iona teaches intentional living codes? Yes. Absolutely. Otherwise, it takes control, but we don't have to be. So I love that. Thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Iona says, does your mom? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to see because as other things come up in her health, this one gave her a break, I guess, in a sense. Iona says, my battery is going to go. No worries. Love you billions. And thanks for hopping on. Iona says, exactly. Healing reminders. Yeah, I think so. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Have some faith in ourselves and God source creator. Definitely believe in healing. Healing, we do have those opportunities for all of those areas of disease, whether it's in our energy, whether it's emotional and mental and physical in all the ways. Did we all just snap our fingers and everything's, perfect? No, no, it's not even supposed to be that way, right? We're here for the journey. We're here for the experiences. And they're not all exciting experiences, but we can all benefit from those experiences. And we don't have to stay stuck in gunk, right? Still here. Thanks, love. If you're just in case, just in case your battery is like, okay, done. Bye. I got it in there. So thanks for being here. So again, homework. Don't do it yet because you might like, what's the word I'm looking for? Or you go ahead and do some now, but then test yourself later too. Like just do a random, like, oh yeah, that homework. Grab some pen, paper, or phone, computer, however you want to do it, and just start writing and try to get into a free flow and think of anything that comes up for you that you feel kind of, or you think kind of fits for you with the I am. And just see, allow it to come up in your awareness. Or even if you want to just say, okay, well, right now, after listening to that, I don't identify with it anymore. Go ahead and write it down just so you can give yourself that kudos to say, I recognize this, right? I did just identify as, I did just own this. I did just see this as part of my self image, as part of an aspect of me, of who I am, but I don't now. And then find how you're going to replace it or how you're going to change it because kind of like with energy, if you think of a balloon and you're removing space, like you can't just leave it, right? You don't want to leave it or deflate it. You want it to refill it. So you remove the negative and you replace it with a positive, if you will. I know some people say there's no positive and negative. I would like to disagree, but choice of words, that's all. It's how we understand things to explain it. Higher vibrational, lower vibrational. If you're releasing and removing the lower vibrational, fill it back with the higher vibrational. So what will you replace it with? Similar to addictions and why addictions can be difficult to heal from because we try to remove whatever the thoughts, patterns, and actions are that feed the addiction, and we don't replace that space and energy with anything else, right? So then it allows that space for all those addiction things to come back in. Same concept. We want to remove whatever is keeping us stuck in those negative, heavy, gross, gunky thought patterns, emotions, behaviors, actions, what we're assuming is our self image, whatever is blocking receiving that love for self, and replace it with something that does allow and does feel and does feed the love for self, right? Where we can see the positive parts and aspects of ourselves instead of beating ourselves up with blame, shame, and guilt. I think that is plenty for today. So thank you again for sharing your time and space with me. Don't forget to check the description as well for all the links to hop on our calls. Let's get together. Let's clear out more energy. I love that. So Tuesday, it's coming up, depending on when you see this video. If you're live with me or see it today soon, still first Tuesday of every month, we have our collective energy clearing monthly Zoom call. Come join us on that. Click the other links, see what resonates with you. I will see you tomorrow for forgiveness, space for transformation in the heart chakra. So much love to you. Bye, guys.